YouTube Bozic going. The GOAT House is back after day 2 of the NFL draft. A lot of players kept sliding, ended up with a bunch of big time steals for teams. Some teams came away with some pretty big, good looking hauls of day 2. I'm here to break it down. I'm going to break down each pick, even though I already did so on our Twitter. We'll do the same thing for day 3 live as the picks happen. But we'll break down every pick real quick, but then I'm going to give you the 10 best round 2 picks, 10 best round 3 picks, in my opinion. And then overall, which teams won day 2? Day 2 as a whole, getting a pretty good haul definitely helps in that category. We'll break it all down. We broke down round 1 already, a couple different videos, winners, losers. We got grades for every single pick. We'll continue to do the same thing here. Day 3 is a big day here. We'll have you covered on Twitter and here on YouTube, so smash that like button and subscribe. Be much appreciated. Here's our Twitter. Look at all these tweets on every single pick here. Literally after every pick happens, I break it down, give you my instant thoughts. So appreciate you if you follow us there. Really quick, before I give you my top 10 best picks, round 2, round 3, and then the biggest winners overall, let's just go through real quick here. Jags picked Tyson Campbell. That was a surprise to me. We were hearing, thoughts on it going into the day. That's a surprise, though, because they pay Shaq Griffin. Obviously, Shaq Griffin's going to be an outside corner. They paid him top-tier money to be an outside corner. They didn't do that. He's not going to be a slot corner. No shot. C.J. Henderson was a top draft pick last year. He's strictly an outside corner. What's at the top of his game? What makes him that great of a prospect is C.J. Henderson. That is his press technique, really his press ability. You don't really get that out of him from the slot. Tyson Campbell just does not feel like a slot guy to me. And he's very similar to C.J. Henderson. I think I've compared him to him. So they all feel like slot guy or outside guys, to me. So that was interesting. They're going for upside here. With Campbell, and I'm just curious to see who plays in the slot. Do they try to move somebody to safety? I don't see that either. So gonna be interesting to see who hits the bench there, really, or I guess who hits the slot. Maybe. I just don't see any of those guys as slot guys. Honestly, the veteran Griffin might be the best there, but you didn't pay him all that money to play in the slot, so that was interesting. Elijah Moore, one of the best picks, especially up to this point, one of the best picks overall in the NFL draft, was one of my guys of the draft, 19th overall player on my board. Why? Because he's an all-around receiver, slot receiver, can play outside. He's got pretty good production outside, but great footwork. It's instant separation, very good after the catch, whether it's making people miss or breaking tackles. Best hands in the class, in my opinion. Perfect with Zach Wilson. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's a sneaky, good receiver group. Absolutely love that pick for the Jets. You guys know another one of my guys, Javonte Williams, my number 1 running back in the class. It was no question for me. I've been hitting on running backs for a long time too, and I'm even more confident about this one. Najee Harris going to the Steelers, playing behind that offense line. Etienne, Urban Meyer's basically saying he's not even a running back. Javonte Williams behind this Broncos offense line. He is splitting with some good running backs. Broncos love their running backs, but this guy's going to be damn good for the Broncos. I love this. He's the best running back in the class to me. I think he's their best running back right now. I do like Melvin Gordon. I like Mike Boone too. Pretty good running back group. They want to run the ball first. They got phenomenal receivers too, but they're going to run the ball first to open up the pass for whoever their quarterback is. You guys know I was going to love whoever got Javonte Williams, so sign me up for the Broncos. Courtland Sutton was one of my big-time guys a few years ago too, so the Broncos been doing that, apparently. Javon Holland to the Dolphins. Interesting picks from the Dolphins. Yeah, they got a lot better here in this draft, day 2, I should say, as well as, they got a couple of great players. You guys know I love Jalen Phillips. That's besides the point. Day 2 here. They got better, but where is Holland going to play? That was kind of my question before the draft, too. 2018, played free safety. Looked pretty damn good there, but just one season there. 2019, he played slot mainly, but then more of strong, a lot more strong than over free, I should say, but a lot of slot reps. So versatile safety, just kind of up in the air. You don't have like a firm grasp on, because he never really gave us a full sample size of where he's actually going to play, but he's good at all those spots. Maybe they're going to move him around, and they draft Noah Igbenoghu with their first round pick last year to play in the slot, of course. And I they'll probably continue to try him there, but then Holland, I think, could play there. He could play, to me, he can play strong. He can play free. So they'll use him. They'll use him all over the place. They'll use him all over the place to me. So you can't really keep him in one spot. Landon Dickerson to the Eagles. I think they'll play him at guard. For sure. And because they got Kelsey at center, so that helps. But the thing with Dickerson is a first-round talent pretty easily, I'd say, if it wasn't for the past injury, some major injury concern there. And, with 3 past injuries, and that really, that kind of hurts a little bit with the Eagles because they have enough injury concern across the offensive line. So they kind of added to that collection. So that's pretty tough. But again, a first-round talent. Christian Barmore to the Patriots. And this was a guy that we thought would go in the first round. In terms of value, it's good value because we thought we can go in the first round. But in terms of the big board value, it's not crazy. It's not like Elijah Moore, but it's still pretty damn good here. And the Patriots, they had a pretty complete team. They had a pretty complete team, but I thought they could have used D-line, and that's what they get here. They traded a bit away to come up and get here. They traded 2/4, I believe, to come up and get here. So that was interesting, but they got a big-time defensive lineman here. Bears take Tevin Jenkins. So the Bears trade up. Ryan Pace can't help himself. He trades up so much, every draft. I'm not really a big fan of that a lot, but at the same time, Tevin Jenkins wasn't going to be there if they kind of let it settle, waited. I don't think he was going to be there, so they got a plug-and-play guy at right tackle. There was some talk about him going first round. Really good run blocker. Does have, you do have to work with him in terms of the pass protection. Oklahoma State turned in more of a run first team. Kind of odd because it's a Big 12 team, but he was he's very solid in that category. Bully of a blocker at times. So Bears get their right tackle. They do trade some more away to get it. The Bears are coming away with some big time talent. So they're doing a fantastic job, getting a lot better. There's some teams that are doing the same thing without trading those picks, so that'll be the edge at the end of the day. But the Bears are coming away with some big-time starters here, obviously, even though it's only been 2. Falcons grab Richie Grant. So Javon Holland's the first safety, Richie Grant second. It's a little surprising there, Richie Grant, this is going to be interesting. So we'll see what they say if they got a press conference, if it's out yet already, where they play Richie Grant, because he's played a little bit of free, played a little bit of strong. To me, I don't really like him that much at strong. I like him a lot more free. Where he stands out is this kind of range playmaking ability in the far end, the back end. That's where he stands out to me. Had struggles with tackles in the past, but then picked it up this past year. So maybe he's helping his case for strong safety. So we'll see. They signed Eric Harris, who's more of a free safety. There's no guarantee start. So I'm not really worried because I think Grant could be a solid player, but I just really would prefer him free. So we'll see. Lions take Levi Onwuzurike from Washington. I mocked this quite a bit. I kind of felt like it could happen. Another defensive. He played a little bit out of position at times. They almost used him at nose at times, but he's not gonna. He doesn't have the strength to play there. In the NFL. But he's just got such good get off, explodes off the ball like really no one else, in this class at all in terms of the interior defensive lineman. So that's fantastic. So that I think that's a pretty solid pick there for the Lions. They get better. Try to run through these a little quicker so we can get to the top 10s and my biggest winners. Eichenberg of the Dolphins, I would assume another one of those Dolphins picks where you just don't know where they're going to put him right now. I'm assuming they're going to put him at right tackle. Did they give up on Austin Jackson at left? I don't think so. Maybe they keep Robert Hunt at tackle and they move Eichenberg to guard. I've heard that. I don't really like that. Right tackle makes sense. Kind of like a McGlinchey situation. It's not really a wow pick. I'm not a huge Eichenberg guy, but I did have a second round grade on him. Trevon Marrag, the Raiders end up with my top safety in the class. I just hope they move him around a lot, use him in different spots because he's kind of like Javon Holland. There's one second he's only playing slot, 1 second he's playing strong, free, split safety, whatever. And a lot of people were laying him free safety. I thought his best tape was everywhere else, even though he was good at free safety. And the Raiders kind of needed free. So I do think he'll play free most, which I'm fine with. He's very good there as well. I just want you to take advantage of him, you move him around a little bit. Cowboys get their corner here in Calvin Joseph from Kentucky. Upside guy, has the freak, traits really. Talk about He's got pretty good length, but mainly athleticism there. So the Cowboy, him and Diggs, that's an upside. That's an upside duo right there. Walker Little, questionable pick. I thought he would go in the third round, and if I was a GM, even though I had a third round grade on him, I would have hesitated to take him there just because we haven't seen him play in so long, and it feels like, and he's had so many injuries across his career. So, and he was pretty good, but if it was without the injuries, because when he played the better competition, even when he was healthy, it was a little iffy, So without the injuries, I would have said early second, which we're basically right there. Factor that in. I don't know. I thought that was a reach there for the Jaguars. Another similar one here at Jackson Carman. I like him more as a guard, and they actually have on the website, they list him at guard. He played tackle for Clemson. I like his upside at guard. The Bengals have Jonah Williams and Riley Reif. It doesn't really feel like they're a fan of switching guys' positions, though, so maybe they just got him as a backup tackle to replace Reif in a year, but best chance is to start at guard right now. Like Asante Samuel for the Chargers. I'm sorry, the Niners moved back behind. They had a plan, though. We'll talk about the Niners. I like Asante Samuel for the Chargers. Brandon Staley's scheme, going to run a lot of cover 4. Zone coverage, obviously. Corners have the ability to kind of, take their lane and be a playmaker, read the quarterback, and that's what Asante Samuel Jr. does very well. So I think he'll be a big-time playmaker in that scheme. I like that. I like the fit, like the pick overall. Aaron Banks of the 49ers. This is interesting. The 49ers draft today was very interesting. We're going to come back to it, actually. But Aaron Banks, I like. He's more of a gap power blocker, which the 49ers were not, before. So, again, this is kind of what we'll talk about more of. I was kind of more third, late second. I was okay. I wouldn't really consider it a reach still. But I like Aaron Banks. He's a bully of a blocker in the run game for sure. We're going to talk more about the Niners because I thought this was an intriguing day for the Niners. We'll come back. Cardinals, Rondale Moore. They need a slot receiver pretty bad just to get quick separation. They do that. Rondale Moore's a risky one because he was just a gadget player, really a pretty damn good gadget player. Nothing really going over 20 yards. You're really no routes, but he's twitchy enough to learn that. So I think it would be good for a Cardinals. Maybe just a little bit, a little bit of a project, but even though he'll have an instant impact, I think, in some way, even if it's a gadget. Still no corner for the Cardinals. I know the fans were really wanting a corner, but they get a pretty exciting player in Rondale Moore. Giants get Azeez Ojulari, who I thought was a possibility for them in the first round if they traded back, which they did, but they didn't get Azeez Ojulari. Knee injury must be serious. We heard that a couple days before the draft. He ends up sliding big time, so it must be serious. He played fully last year and was pretty damn impressive. I do think he fits the Giants. I thought, if I made a big board for the Giants with edge rushers, I feel like he was the second best one in the draft. It's a little... You can't get fully excited. It sounds like you want to. I mean, it's an A+ pick here. You want to jump up and down. It kind of feels like that, but then at the same time, you kind of got to go, whoa, okay, something a little scary is going on. But overall, it's an A+ pick in my opinion. It's fantastic. I wasn't a huge Samuel Cosmi guy compared to the rest. It was involved in a lot of double teams. When he went against better pass rushers, he didn't play as well. So nitpicking at this point, but just to prove my point that some people had him first round, not me at all. I had him second. But at the same time, I do like this for Washington because they still land their left tackle. I think he could start for them right away. And I do think he has some upside. He's pretty athletic for a tackle there. Browns get maybe the steal of the entire draft. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, 14th overall on my board. It's a freak of a linebacker that can cover at a very high level. That defense Notre Dame ran through him. He dropped. People always wondering why he dropped. There's no concerns anywhere. Why he dropped is because he only fits 4-3 defenses. So you take the 4-3 defense, about half the league, and then you take the teams that are kind of looking for that linebacker cover, slot guy hybrid, and that really brings down how many teams are interested. Those teams that are interested know they can wait because there's not too many threats out there, and some of those threats maybe already took that type of, or not type, but a linebacker maybe, or they know they're not going to take him. So that's smart to me. Fantastic for the Browns. The only thing is, he does play very well from the slot, and they do have Troy Hill who will play in the slot. And they got some other guys that can, Grant Delpit. So that's going to be interesting, but just using him at linebacker in general will help them big time. Browns really upgrading their defense. This is one of the steals, maybe the steal of the draft here. It's an A+ pick. Dylan Raduns to the Titans. It kind of had a feeling that they could try to grab a right tackle. They tried Isaiah Wilson last year. Didn't work out. They get Reduns. Reduns got a pretty good tape. I only played one game this year, but got pretty good tape, before that as well. Only thing is, he didn't play much at all. He's going to be tested. So we'll see if he starts right away. He'll battle for that right tackle spot. Interesting pick here at the Colts. Dayo Odeyingbo from Vanderbilt. The Colts go double edge rush. There was a lot of times where I didn't give him a tackle in the first round, and they were saying they got to go tackle. They didn't go that route. I'm not. I'm okay. I graded Kwity Paye an A. I like getting the edge rush. They go to another one here because they need it so bad. Odeyingbo is interesting because it's a freak upside guy. Crazy length, crazy power. With that, you usually don't see athleticism. You do here, very explosive. I think he'll definitely have more production in the NFL. The thing is, he tore his Achilles training this offseason in January, I believe it is. So that's tough. Maybe we won't see him this year, or we definitely won't see him in the beginning of the year. But if he was fully healthy, I think we were talking about early second, maybe sneaking in the first. Maybe Peyton Turner wouldn't have snuck in the first. Maybe it would have been a guy like this because they're pretty similar. This guy, if healthy, is better. I like Turner actually a little better, I should say, but this guy can be better with that, that length. But I do like Turner overall better on my board, I should say. I said that backwards. But they're pretty close was what I was getting to. But he could have been that kind of sneaky upside guy that could have snuck up was my point. Interesting for the Colts, though. Definitely interesting. Steelers, Pat Freiermuth, tight end. I was surprised they didn't address the offensive line here. Freiermuth he's somewhat of he's a pretty damn good weapon out there, but will he be able to do that in the NFL? I think he'll still be a weapon, not the best blocker. I liked him more early third. Steelers, interesting route so far. Dwayne Eskridge thought he would go into third. Big playability, though. Home run hitter after the catch. Crazy speed. It's going to be fun watching with the Seahawks, pairing him with the other two solid receivers they have. Was surprised by this one, Tutu Atwell. Thought he would go. I didn't think he would go this high. He has the talent, but he's really underweight, but not really a problem for me. He has the talent, slot receiver. I thought he would go third at the very earliest, though. I didn't think Rams were really targeting a receiver. The amount of receivers they got, they may have just taken their fourth or fifth receiver here in this with their first pick of the draft here. So that was interesting. But he is a big-time playmaker. Will play in the slot. Bolton to the Chiefs. I like the fit, replacing Damian Wilson. The only downside is Willie Gay Jr., who was disappointing last year. It might continue, They play a lot of two linebackers in there. They use the extra DB quite a bit. So it should be Hitchens and Bolton, I'm guessing. Terrace Marshall back with Joe Brace, a pretty good value pick. Could have been a first-round pick. Not surprising he made it to round 2. A little surprising he's down here at 27. Lengthy slot receiver that can also play outside, but very damn good in the red zone. Pair him with their current group, looking pretty good. Pete Werner of the Saints, feels like kind of an Anzalone guy. All of a sudden, he was starting to get a whole bunch of hype. I wasn't really big on the hype for the second round. I kind of liked him third, but we're basically in the third round here, so it's not at all a reach. Again, I think it's a pretty good Anzalone pick, or replacement there, I should say. Going to fill gaps. Pretty athletic for that type of guy as well. Bills go Boogie Basham. I like this for the Bills here overall. They grabbed 2 defensive ends. They grabbed 2 pass rushers in their scheme, or did they? That's kind of the question mark here. So that's where you're left waiting a little bit. We'll see what they say in the press conferences. I haven't watched those yet. But what I mean by that, Russo is a little bit of a project outside, even though he's had production, but he's got a lot more of his production best play inside. Do you play him inside, though? Is he built for that? Boogie Basham, his production, he's built like an inside guy. His production is great play, comes from the outside. I think if you force him inside, I think you might disrupt him a little bit, So I don't know if I want them to do that. They might be bound to move one of those guys inside, and that might be a bit of a project. But overall, they got 2 talented pass rushers for sure. So overall, I definitely like it. Josh Myers, surprising to me. I thought he was a day 3 guy. The Packers, I didn't think we were going to value center like this. If they did, I thought it was going to be Miners or Humphrey maybe. I feel like he's going to be good for them. I feel like you put any center in that, a late round pick in that, in that guy, as long as he in that scheme, the unit, and then I think he can fit, and I think he can play well because the rest of the unit and the coaching staff is so good. Trying to spit it out, what I'm trying to say. I didn't really like the reach and value in the center position that high, in my opinion. Wasn't a fan of that one. Creed Humphrey to the Chiefs. I wasn't as high on Creed Humphrey as the rest, but I do like him with the Chiefs. It's solid. Lefty center. It's kind of rare. Hasn't really worked out. So maybe that's kind of I gotta let it grow on me a little bit. Buccaneers to take Kyle Trask. I'm surprised he went ahead of Mond and Davis Mills, or at least one of those, or both of those guys, I should say. Yeah, the Buccaneers grab him. Gets to learn behind Tom Brady. I guess he's missing that downfield-like ball that Brady has, so it's not something really you can develop by learning from him. So that's the only downside here, but may have a bright future there learning from him. We'll go on to the round 3 real quick. Then I got my top 10 best picks for round 2, 3, and then the overall winners. Cisco is one of my guys, and usually one of my guys, because I think he should go higher than what I think he's going to go sometimes. That was kind of it for Cisco, but I had him at 3rd round, so he ends up going there. A little surprised by that. They brought in Jenkins for free safety, who's a pure free safety in my opinion. And Cisco is just pure free safety, so I'm curious to see what the plan is here. There was times they would bring Cisco up in the box, but he's a free safety. There's just no way. He's there. Why I like Cisco, he has really elite moments on tape, playmaking moments, range, attacking. The ball skills are off the charts. Crazy length, athleticism, solid length, I should say. He does have some pretty bad. You guys remember me talking about him a lot. He has some pretty bad moments as well. Some bad angles, whether it's in coverage, picking things up, or mainly tackling. He can tackle. It just has some pretty bad angles. So it's an ultimate boom or bust prospect. I'm just wowed by the boom part. The highs, some big time highs. So we'll see what the Jaguars do with having him and Jenkins. Interesting draft from the Jaguars, but I do like Cisco. Vikings take Kellen Mond. This might have been the shocker of the. I just did not expect the Vikings to take Kellen Mond. I'm a Vikings fan. When they're on the clock, I'm saying you got to go Mond, but they're not going to do it. And then we hear the reports that they might go quarterback. I'm like, they're going Davis Mills. It feels like a Kirk Cousins type guy, and they go Mond. Mond was the only quarterback on my guys list. Few years ago, I said Mond was a future first-round quarterback, and he took a step down the next year, and now this year, I thought he picked it up. I thought he looked very solid. He was a top recruit out of high school, has the traits. He has the legs. He has the wow ability with his legs, but mainly with his arm, throw on the run ability, the arm strength. He has it. Just very inconsistent. So I think learning from Kirk Cousins, I think it's perfect. He's familiar with this style of offense, though. This is just kind of the Vikings run an old school offense, but the future is having more an athletic quarterback. And I think you kind of mix those together with Kellen Mond. So I really like this. I'm on record saying 2nd round makes sense, but I wouldn't be against a team trading back into the 1st and taking him. So he ends up going 3rd. So it's pretty good. Davis Mills, the Texans, maybe this was the shocker. I don't know. One of those two back to back, because another quarterback. They kept getting quarterbacks in free agency where it's like, okay, something's going out for sure. Something's serious with Deshaun Watson. And it kind of kept happening. They even traded for Ryan Finley. I know low risk there, but and now they draft with their first pick of the draft. They draft Davis Mills here, the Stanford quarterback, former 5-star recruit, has the arm strength, has the touch pass, a little inconsistent, but that's due to the lack of reps that he's got. Had some injuries even going back to high school, so that's why it's a little risky. I was saying, reminds me of Daniel Jones. I even throw like a hint of Kirk Cousins in there. Daniel Jones plus Kirk Cousins, minus the fumbling, which they both have the fumbling problem. So that's good for Davis Mills. I always bring up the UCLA game. Disastrous early on, was very bad. And the second half was very good. Looked like a guy I wouldn't draft in the first half, and looked like a first-round pick in the second to make a comeback. So that was kind of the highlight game, maybe, or the talking point here. Interesting for the Texans. Jalen Mayfield played right tackle for Michigan. There was a lot of talk about him having upside at guard. Could be a bully-type guard, and that's what I think he'll do. I think he'll start at guard for the Falcons. They were kind of one guard away from being complete here. I think that's what they'll do with him. So I like that. I thought, there's some tape where he looks like a first-round pick. It's just very limited, but I think he'll be a good guard for them. Joseph Ossai, interesting pick here for the Bengals. I wasn't a huge Ossai guy because he first-year edge rusher, out of Texas. This is the first year playing it. So he has upside. He has upside to learn a position. When you watch him, though, you just still feel like he's an off-the-ball linebacker, stand-up linebacker. It really looks like a linebacker trying to play edge rusher. And he had production. A lot of it was kind of stunts going back on the inside. and going up the downhill through the gap. It's basically like a linebacker's role when they blitz. That was a lot of the production there. High motor, pretty rangy, a lot of linebacker traits. Texas moved him to edge for a reason though. So I think the Bengals. It's interesting with him opposite of Trey Hendrickson, two totally different style pass rushers. If that's the case, there's really no upside off the ball though. So I do think they'll work him out. Outside off the edge. Again, upside. Yeah, he's versatile. They can move around a bit. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Brady Christensen to the Panthers. He can compete for a tackle spot there. Probably wouldn't start him year one. Go at Irving for sure. But he can compete for it. Christensen had a pretty solid year protecting Wilson. Just whenever he played the slightly better pass rushers, because there really wasn't the best of pass rushers, I thought they were kind of beating him a little more than it went noticed because Wilson was getting rid of the ball or escaping. I think early on he could have a problem with this level of competition. I mean, specifically, I think speed rushers give him a problem. Aaron Robinson, I really like this value here. I like Aaron Robinson playing in the slot and outside. I see upside outside, but he had a very tough task, because he would play inside in the slot, and then he would, like a play later, he'd be outside. Then a play later, he'd be inside, then outside again. People don't realize how freaking hard that is. He's insanely talented. Was at Alabama. He played at Alabama as a freshman, so that kind of tells us he's talented. The Giants just have so many corners. Is he gonna play? Is he gonna play here? Just too good to pass. They like their corners, but it's great value. Lee McNeil was one of my guys. Only a couple years at nose tackle position. Actually played running back and linebacker in high school. That's how he gets his athleticism. Pretty good nose tackle though. Stops the run. I think he'll have an easier task in NFL than he did in college, because the NC State only rushed 3. He would get doubled a lot. I like Lee McNeil's upside. Milton Williams, I like. I like his versatility. Can play D-end and can play 3 technique. Eagles got a good pass rush, but some of those guys aren't going to be around forever, and this is kind of a rebuild team in a way. This is a freak athlete with a lot of upside, so I like that for the Eagles. St. Juice for Washington, thought maybe a round 4 guy, but I like his length. For that size guy, usually they don't have the quickness to change the direction. That's where he really thrives, though. So, okay pick for Washington there. Osa Odigizua for the Cowboys here. Pretty similar to Gallimore last year, because Gallimore played a lot of nose at Oklahoma, but is he strong enough to play nose in the NFL? He's got upside elsewhere. It's literally the same thing for Odigizua, so they got two, not really the same player, but they kind of had the same situation, So we'll see how they use those guys. I think he has upside as a D tackle, 3 technique maybe. Paulson Adebo for the Saints here. I love his playmaking ability. I thought he would go to more of a zone team just because usually those playmakers go to more zone teams. The Saints run a lot of man there with their corners. But I think he can handle it. He's a fantastic playmaker. His playmaking skills say second round. And when I'm seeing his big-time moments on tape, I almost want to say this could be a second-round pick, but then you see kind of the downside moments. He does have tackling issues, and that's why he falls to the third. But he'll get some playing time, and he'll get his hands on the ball. So overall, pretty solid pick there, I guess, for the Saints. Josh Palmer to the Chargers. I like this fit. Josh Palmer was getting a lot of buzz. He had pretty good tape, even though the lack of production, that was mainly because of the quarterback play. He does a good job fighting off receivers, attacking the ball, downfield, tracking the ball. I said he's the poor man's in the same draft, Jamar Chase. It's hard to compare him to Jamar Chase, but he does a lot of similar things, just not as high of a high level there. I think he fits Chargers, though. Justin Herbert airing the ball downfield. They could have used an outside receiver. Makes some sense there. It's not like a wow pick, but it makes sense. He's going to be better in the NFL. Vikings take Chaz Surratt, linebacker in North Carolina. I think they're getting ready for Anthony Barr departure after this year, I believe, here, because they reworked his deal, 1-year deal left. Surratt's an upside guy. He was a quarterback that turned linebacker. First year playing linebacker was solid, but he missed an insane amount of tackles, too many. Then, the next year he really cut it down, so you could make the assumption that he could continue to fix that, and ultimately maybe it's fixed, or maybe it can stay the same right now, which it's a lot better than it was. But I think he has some work to do, but he's pretty instinctive, flies around the field, was a very important piece of that North Carolina defense. It's kind of an upside one. I think we'll see him play for the Vikings this year, but I think it might take another year to see him be this guy they want him to be for sure. Malcolm Kuntz for the Raiders was pretty damn surprising. I thought he was a day 3 guy. He was getting some hype because he had some really wild, flashy moments on tape, some speed rushes specifically. He played pretty bad competition. That's really not a negative, but I thought whenever he played, somewhat of a better tackle, there was actually a couple decent tackles in the MAC, really, that are going to get drafted as well. I thought that, he really couldn't get off the block on those. So I kind of worry about him once an NFL tackle's got him, he's really not getting off of it. He has some upside there though, but maybe Mayock's just kind of banking on Khalil Mack here because he was a Khalil Mack guy, even though that's really not related to the Raiders at one point having Khalil Mack. But I thought it was a reach. Divine Diablo, I think, is a fit. This feels like a cover 3, in a robber cover 3 scheme, playing that Jeremy Chin type role what the Panthers did last year. It's a safety linebacker hybrid, which he kind of played at times. He would even line up at free at times at Virginia Tech. But that fits this defense because Gus Bradley, he's coming in. They run a ton of cover 3. It kind of fits that. How does Abram kind of mix into that, though? How do they both mix into that? I guess that's the question, but I think it's a fantastic fit. Hunter Long, wasn't really expecting the Dolphins to take a tight end, but they did. It's a pretty balanced tight end. He's not flashy. He's not going to wow. No, not a whole bunch of athleticism. Could block, and then he's pretty good contested catcher in traffic, I should say. Boston College, with it, 3rd down, 4th down, let's throw it to Hunter Long. That was kind of their thing there. De'Ami Brown was a fantastic steal for Washington here. Pretty good, really good receiver unit they got going over there. Explosive playmaker, home run hitter, wow ability, wow production, tracking the ball downfield, great speed, athleticism, twitchy. He ran about 2 or 3 routes all year. That's what it felt like. That's why he dropped. Teams want guys that understand their routes. They want guys that they know they can run these routes. I take the risk on Brown because I feel like he's athletic enough, twitchy enough, just good enough to kind of figure that out. We will see. Panthers take Tommy Tremble. Was not expecting the Panthers to take the tight end, Tommy Tremble, but they do here. And best blocking tight end in the class. He's my number 2 tight end in the class, and he goes a little further down than 2 there. So that was pretty good for the Panthers. He's going to be a dominant blocker, sneaky receiving ability. So I like that one for the Panthers. Cowboys reach a little bit with Chauncey Golson. Similar not similar defensive end at all as Kuntz, but similar situation, in my opinion, from what I watch on tape. Golson had these flashy moments, like wow moments, but then he'll have moments where he just can't get off a block. There's nothing special off the line. He'll let the tackle kind of get inside, and he's just not getting off then. Too much of that. So I thought this was a reach. Amari Rodgers for the Packers. This is right around where I thought he should go, but I really like this pick for the Packers because they finally got a receiver. They finally got that slot receiver. That's a safe pick. He's going to get you some production. It's going to help A Rodgers. Going to help A Rodgers here. A-Rod and A-Rod. So I really like that a lot for the Packers. They finally did it. Vikings get Wyatt Davis. Pretty solid pick there for them. Nothing crazy in terms of value, but pretty solid value. I think he's going to start for them. So that's the good thing there. Their offensive line, Darisaw, Wyatt Davis, kind of coming together here. Kendrick Green, the Steelers. Very good run blocker that helps Najee Harris. I think this was about his range to me. Trey Sermon. Yeah, I thought his range was late 3, early 4, but this kind of fits. I was talking about Aaron Banks. We're talking a little more about it, but Trey Sermon, kind of a power runner here. It kind of fits what they're looking to do here. Nico Collins to the Texans, pretty good outside receiver. Just a lack of separation you kind of worry about. He does have the speed, but he still hasn't really been getting a whole lot of separation because of the footwork. But probably one of the better lengthy receivers in the class, one of the best contested catchers, dominant in the red zone. Patrick Jones to the Vikings. Production guy. Didn't really love his tape because it did feel like a lot of those Pittsburgh guys fed off each other. Patrick Jones, more of an inside move, does this thing where he jumps too much, and then I think NFL tackles would get him off balance. Some teams are talking about moving him inside, and the Vikings came off the edge. But I guess the good news here is, like I said, he had production because all those guys in the Pittsburgh defensive line fed off each other. The Vikings got a pretty decent defensive line, I should say, so that can help in that category. Anthony Schwartz to the Browns, upside guy, purely just a speed/gadget guy right now. Is a very risky pick. I do think a little early, but I guess the Browns can afford to do it. Monty Rice, I think a little early. I just didn't really have a firm role for him. Kind of like not really an every down inside linebacker. Inside linebacker is kind of a hybrid. You blitz him at times. He's always around the ball, trying to make plays there. So I like that. it just feels like Vrabel always wants these guys. It just hasn't really been working out trying to make guys like that in the NFL level. Not in love with that pick. Spencer Brown, Northern Iowa. Didn't like his tape. He's an upside guy though. I think an NFL team can get it out of him, sit him for a bit. The Bills can afford to do that here. Ben Cleveland of the Ravens. It's a perfect fit here. He's a good gap blocker. That's what the Ravens do. This was about his range though, so nothing to get wow about. Hainsey, I like Hainsey a lot. I like him at right tackle, but he seems like he's going to be even better of a guard. He'll be a backup for the Buccaneers, but it's a solid piece there. One of the steals of the draft, Ronnie Perkins. I felt good about him in round 2, but I said if somebody took him late 1, I wouldn't be against it because I love his tape so much. I think he'll be better in the NFL. High motor guy, blows through blockers. Patriots get a steal there. Trey McKitty of the Chargers, a little early. I did like Trey McKitty as a sleeper in round 4, a little early because the random run on tight ends all of a sudden. I think somebody else technically started, but it felt like the Dolphins surprised because teams started to predict what other teams do. Dolphins, Panthers, they weren't really supposed to take tight ends there, prediction-wise. And I think that really forced this. So teams kind of had to, they kind of know, like, we kind of got to get this guy if we want him. Broncos take Quinn Miners. Pretty good value here. I thought second, third, so I wasn't one of the people that were like, wow on him, but a lot of upside there. Probably won't start because the Broncos got a good offensive line, but I think that's a pretty solid pick. Deshaun Wright, this is a surprising pick for the Cowboys again. The Cowboys had some really good picks in the draft overall, but there's some reaches. I thought Wright was probably a 7th-round pick. 6'4" corner is a lot to like, a lot to work with. Just very raw. You got a lot to work with here. A lot you have to work with. So, going to be a backup. I thought it was early. I thought it was pretty damn early. They just felt like they just had to have this guy to work with them. Elijah Molden, the Titans, I like him as a slot corner. Very safe pick. Another guy that's always around the ball here making plays. I think you could play safety too. I think he'll start in the slot though. I guess that's what's the question. Question is Christian Fulton then. Some thought after they took Farley, he'll play in the slot. But so that might be bad news for him maybe. Fatu Melifonwu. Freaky size, length goes with that, athleticism for that size. Pretty impressive tape. The bad thing for him is he kind of bails a lot, giving up too much in front of him. Kind of has that feeling that he's afraid to get beat deep, which he shouldn't be because he has the speed. All the traits really did not be like that. So I don't really like that, but at the same time, I felt like he was a 2nd-round pick because you just don't see corners like that have good tape at the same time, just minus that one thing. So Lions grab a pretty good upside corner here, pretty good value. I like Ambry Thomas. Nobody was talking about Ambry Thomas at all. I like this tape. There's people that insist on him inside. I think he could be pretty solid inside. I just like him outside. Yeah, he's got a really good tape outside. He barely played inside. I think you look at his frame, he's thin, and people kind of take that lazy approach and just say, we'll put him inside. I just don't like that. A lot of upside here because he was a former receiver turned corner. Michigan even put him, gave him the ball on offense because he's just that good of an overall athlete, Remember Jabril Peppers? They were doing the same thing. I know he was a safety, but I think he attacks the ball well when it's in the air. He's good in press man. He can tackle. I see a lot of upside here with him. I like that for the Niners. Ernest Jones, I thought was a day 3 sleeper. We're pretty close to day 3 here. He had a lot of responsibility. He had to cover a lot of ground for South Carolina. His job on the inside for the Rams with that defense, it's going to be a lot easier. Brandon Stevens was kind of a late riser for me. Was watching more and more of him. He was a running back turned corner. The way I watch him play, and I think it's probably because he's not familiar with corner. He's just the way he is technique, just the way he plays. Sometimes I can't even explain it. It just felt like he was a safety to me. Do the Ravens move him there? There was some talk they could use a safety. Do they just put him as a backup corner? I'm kind of thinking I was onto something with the safety. I don't know. We'll see. Pretty good athlete. Just instincts attacking the ball as well. Baron Browning to the Broncos, a versatile linebacker. Versatile, he played everywhere, but where do you actually put him in the NFL? And the Broncos use him inside. They'll probably blitz him a little bit, and they'll use him in coverage. Pretty solid value pick. That took a lot longer than I thought, but let's go. Round 2, best picks, top 10. We'll start at 10. Went with Calvin Joseph. It was pretty close here between a few, but I went with Calvin Joseph. I really like the duo of Joseph and Diggs, the high upside there. Tevin Jenkins for the Bears at 9. It's the guy that could have went in the first round. He's a plug-and-play right tackle for the Bears. It's phenomenal. They did trade some more value to get this, but it's fantastic for the Bears. Similar situation. The Patriots traded a bit to to go get Barmore, but they get a guy that was pretty high on my board, in the 20s. Could have went in the first round. They needed D-line to kind of complete the process for the defense. Love it. 7, Trevon Merrick, the top safety in the class. The Raiders grab him. There was some thought they were going to get him the first. They grab him here, so that's fantastic. 6, Terrace Marshall fits in with Joe Brady's offense. We know that already. I did think they needed another receiver. I really did. Some people disagree with me pre-draft. I really thought they needed some. And one like this, and they got that. Length receiver that could play inside, can play out. Very good in the red zone. I like that too because their receivers are good right now, and they can make some noise in the red zone, but they're not really red zone guys. So, I like that. Asante Samuel Jr., fantastic pick for the Chargers. He's going to be a playmaker in Brandon Staley's scheme, playing in that cover 4, sitting back there, reading the quarterback, attacking the ball. Going to love that. That's a great pick for the Chargers. Azeez Ojulari, first-round talent all day. I guess had knee concerns, so I guess that's something to watch out for, and that's why he dropped. But a perfect fit in the Giants scheme. Georgia guys, Ojulari, Lorenzo Carter. Ojulari, the better prospect. If we're comparing prospects, he's better right now, in my opinion. I think instant impact as long as he's healthy. Last time we saw him, he was healthy. Javonte Williams, my guy, the NFL draft, my number 1 running back going to the Broncos. This guy's going to be a stud for them. Absolute stud. Love it for the Broncos. They're going to pound the football. It's going to be tough to stop. Especially with that type of running back. With that, I'm just excited. This is gonna be the best running back from this class. I'm locking it in. I've already locked it in. It's always locked in when it comes to the running backs here. Elijah Moore to the Jets was 19. Javonte Williams was 20. Elijah Moore was 19 on my board. One of my guys here. I like him with Zach Wilson a lot. It's a great value pick. Fantastic for the Jets. Number 1 round 2 pick, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, number 14 on my board. Just a fantastic linebacker. DB type hybrid, and really not a DB, but he does both. He's covered better than a lot of corners in college football against all those slot receivers that are dominant in this class. Every time there's a big play, it was JOK, all over the place. Great athleticism. There's really no flaw to his game. The flaw here is he didn't fit a lot of other teams, and that's why he dropped. Really not a flaw to his game. Looking at round 3. We'll start, I guess, at the back part. Fatu Melifonwu to the Lions. I think pretty good value down there. Was talking about going second. There was some people talking about late first. I didn't really see that, but Lions get pretty good value down there. It's a high upside corner here. Packers get Amari Rodgers. Really by value, this wasn't a wow. Like usually pretty much all these are pretty close to wow or wow value. This is about correct value, but I just really like Amari Rodgers with the Packers. They finally got the receiver. They need that slot guy. He's going to be productive. It's kind of a sure thing if Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball there. So I really like that. Ambry Thomas was one of my guys as well. I love the upside at corner. People were sleeping on him big time. I like him with the Niners there. Another corner that was a second-round guy for me. And, the Giants, the downside here is that he might not play much right away, but it's tremendous value, very talented, can play in the slot, can play outside. It's just a very, very good corner that should have went in the second round. Lee McNeil, another one of my guys, goes to the Lions. I love his upside as a nose tackle, could play D tackle as well. Again, tremendous upside. His job will be easier in the NFL because he was doubled. I even seen him tripled at NC State because they're stupid defense. I'm sorry if there's any NC State fans. Just rushing 3 is the stupid part, I should say. A lot, not always, but in playing with Brockers, playing with Onwuzurike, playing with those pass rushers, job's easier here. He's going to be good. Milton Williams, I actually saw some Eagles fans complaining about this pick. I will say, I guess I respect it in some way because there's a lot of fans that as soon as their team picks a guy, even if they don't know who he is, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, So I guess I could respect it in a way, but I disagree. I think the problem is I think those Eagles fans, everybody wants to win now. I think they're thinking about the now, thinking we don't need any D linemen because they do have a very good defensive line. But some of those guys aren't going to last forever. Milton Williams is a freak upside guy, can play D end, can play D tackle. I thought he was a second-round pick. I like that pick. Falcons taking Jalen Mayfield. A lot of upside at the guard position. It feels like their offensive line's complete. I think he'll be a bully of a blocker inside there. So I really like that pick. I thought there was a shot he can go late first. So I really like that pick for the Falcons. Vikings at Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond was one of my guys in that video as well because I kind of got a gut feeling about him. Had it back in the day. But way back when I said he's going to be a future first-round pick. But really like the way he played this year. Familiar with this type of playbook. Has the traits. Has the wow ability. I really like this, learning from Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins 2 more years, and then it's the Mon show, I think. De'Ami Brown to Washington, it's fantastic value here. I thought he could have went late first. Kind of was starting to feel that he wasn't going to go there just because, yeah, he has a limited route tree, but I think he could figure it out. He's going to get you good production. Him, McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, fantastic there. It makes the job easier for those quarterbacks, whoever it's going to be. And then Ronnie Perkins, I thought was tremendous value here. I loved his tape. Where the Patriots got him, ridiculous value. The top 3 guys here were the top 3 guys. I think I'm on record for all 3 of them saying that I wouldn't be against taking them late first, and look where these teams got them. So that's a big one for Ronnie Perkins. I think he's gonna be fantastic with the Patriots. So love that there for them. And then we'll talk about. I kind of got 4 plus intriguing 49. The intriguing 49ers here on day 3. Is this a scheme change? The reason I got to put them honorable mention here is they didn't really get the greatest value here. I mean, I think I technically had a 3rd round grade on Banks, but I'm fine with them in the 2nd. Sermon, I technically had a 4th. I like Ambry Thomas a lot. I thought that was a big time sleeper. So it's not crazy value. It's a pretty good. They got better. They got 3 guys. But I like, I was a little worried Shanahan coming in this draft was, just going to be, I'm running my scheme. I'm getting what fits my scheme, and it feels like they're changing a lot of things. Factor in Trey Lance. Trey Lance design runs. Anytime a quarterback design runs, usually it involves kind of power blocking, gap scheme, which the 49ers, just don't run really. See a lot of outside zone action there. Aaron Banks is a gap blocker. Sermon's a gap runner. Again, Trey Lance design runs. It's a gap runner. Ambry Thomas, a fantastic corner, has nothing to do with that. It points in the direction that Shanahan's going a little bit outside of his comfort zone. That's a good thing. Outside the box here, it's not changing completely. I think they're putting it all together. So I got to give them props for that. I definitely got to give them props for that. It's going to be a new look offense for the 49ers. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. So picks like these, Banks, Sermon, makes you like the Lance pick a little more. But in terms of value, there's nothing crazy there besides Ambry Thomas, really. Number 4 is going to be the Broncos. You guys know I love Javonte Williams. They get Quinn Miners, pretty solid value. Nothing wow, I guess. Baron Browning. Again, nothing wow, but I like the value there. Could have went 2nd round pick. It's a pretty good haul here. Javonte Williams leading the way. Just love it. Giants get Azeez Ojulari, who was a 1st round grade for me. I think a fantastic fit for the Giants. They needed that. I think he's going to start, do well for them. Aaron Robinson. They could have been possibly battling for that 1 if I feel like Aaron Robinson can make an instant impact for them, which I think he can. But, I think it was just too good to pass. If we got corners, too good to pass. I gave Gettleman props for that. I give him that. Lions just loaded up defense here. They loaded up the defensive line. Onwuzurike, McNeil, and they added Brockers this offseason. Those 3 together looking pretty good. It's a pretty tough defensive line there. And they had Melifanu to help the corner group better, more. Downside is people want him to get receiver, but you can't like grade or give analysis off that. They got that defense a lot better. It's a nasty D line right now. I love what they did here. Absolutely love it. Got to go Patriots. Number 1, they made that defensive line better with a 1st round prospect, Christian Barmore. They had to have him. He's versatile. They'll move him around, and that Patriots defense is what they do. And they had Ronnie Perkins in there, throwing him in with, Judon and Winovich in that group, and they got Jennings and Uche, who are kind of hybrid players. Who the hell knows what they're throwing at you? I like Ron. I get a little bold here. I'll get a little bold, and I'll say Ronnie Perkins, if given the opportunity, could look like their best edge rusher pretty early in the career. I know they got Matthew Judon there. Winovich has been pretty solid, but I'll just say it. You probably won't get the snaps to make that possible right away. But I like his upside. You watch his tape, and he was very disruptive and productive without being productive on your basic stat sheet. I think too many people look at the basic stats. And also, Oklahoma ran him on a lot of stunts. Just rush him off the edge more often, and I think he's more productive. He's going to be good for the Patriots. Tremendous value there. Tremendous players. They got a lot better. I mean, there's other teams that did very well as well. We talked about it in the beginning of this video. What they did. The Browns and the Jets had probably they did. We talked about it. They had the best single picks. The Vikings brought in they got a haul today as well. A good solid amount of players. These are the teams that just kind of wowed me here. So, yeah, that's the video. That's the day 2 video. We'll do the same thing for day 3. We'll be talking about every pick as it happens, my reaction, my breakdown live on our Twitter there, like we did for day 2. Make sure you follow that Twitter. You're missing out if you're not. Subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. We got more videos on the way. We even got undrafted free agency video, most likely later tomorrow, that we do every year. And then we got team-by-team grades going forward after the draft. So really excited. We look forward to the season. So join us for all that. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.